you come to Dirty Boxing, you'll find out tomorrow night.
John, what did you think of Francis being at the UFC tonight?
I think Francis is going to be at Dirty Boxing tomorrow night. So guys, make sure you guys come.
Who would you prefer, Francis or Tom?
Whoever comes to Dirty Boxing.
I've always been, if you're the champion, defend your belt. It's a responsibility. You can't just, I'm going to sit out. I think you need to be reasonably active. I think you.
Yeah, I don't think John is fighting him. I think he's going to duck him and go into retirement.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
He's still running. That's what fans are screaming after Jon Jones once again seemed to avoid clear answers about a possible clash with Tom Aspinall during a recent press event. The potential battle between Jon Jones and interim heavyweight champ Tom Aspinall has been a hot topic in MMA circles. Supporters and analysts have debated whether Aspinall might finally hand Jones his first legitimate octagon defeat, or whether the veteran would simply add another impressive win to his resume. But despite the back and forth on social media and White's insistence that Jones had already agreed to the bout after months of talks, the fight still hasn't materialized.
Just to clarify there, you said Jon has agreed to fight with Tom.
To clarify, you said that Jon agreed to fight Tom, yes?
Jon agreed to fight Tom?
Is that what you just said there? Before, on the last answer, you said...
Jon agreed to fight Tom, yes.
So he hasn't signed a contract yet?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you guys have heard me for the last however long. I said, I guarantee you this fight's going to happen. This fight's going to happen. Fight's going to happen.
Veteran MMA journalist Ariel Helwani quickly cast doubt on Dana White's claims. Speaking on his own show, Helwani stated that the story being told wasn't the full truth. While confirming that Jones had indeed been offered a fight and had accepted on paper, Helwani pointed out that there was a hidden side to the situation, one White hadn't revealed. According to Helwani, Jones went back on his word somewhere in the process, and he hinted that more of the behind-the-scenes drama would eventually surface.
Jon Jones was offered the deal and accepted the deal. Rewind. Jon Jones was offered the deal. I said it. He finally accepted. Now, that's the most significant thing that Dana White has said regarding this in a very long time. The problem is he didn't tell you the whole story. He didn't tell you about and then he went back on his word. He didn't tell you about that part. Eventually that part will come out, but he didn't tell you about that part right then and there. But there it is. This is when the story is going to be really written. Because whenever he comes out and tells the story of why this fight didn't happen, he's going to say he agreed and then he backed out. The glazing is over.
Although Dana White said Jones hasn't officially retired, the UFC boss admitted that if the champion truly didn't want to fight anymore, there was little anyone could do. He compared the scenario to past stars like Khabib Nurmagomedov and Daniel Cormier, both of whom walked away from the sport while still on top. White also made it clear that the UFC wants the Jones versus Aspinall fight to happen. In his view, Aspinall is the natural opponent for Jones, especially with the interim belt on his waist. If Jones chooses not to return, the promotion will have to move on, but for now, they're waiting.
It's Aspinall's fight. I mean, we've been talking to this kid forever about it, and it's his fight. Listen, you can't make people fight. If Jon doesn't want to fight, you can't make him fight. We can try to make him fight. We can throw things at him that inspire him to want to fight, but
Meanwhile, Jones hasn't made things easier. He appeared at the Dirty Boxing 2 Fight Week event where reporters brought up White's recent claims. When asked if he had heard what Dana White said, Jones acted surprised. He claimed not to know anything about it and jokingly said he would reveal more about his fighting future at an upcoming event he's co-promoting. One reporter asked if he would agree to fight Aspinall if the Brit showed up to one of his Dirty Boxing events. Jones smirked and said yes, a sarcastic remark that only added more confusion and frustration for fans and fighters alike.
If you come to Dirty Boxing, you'll find out tomorrow night.
John, what did you think of Francis being at the UFC tonight?
I think Francis is going to be at Dirty Boxing tomorrow night. So guys, make sure you guys come.
Who would you prefer, Francis or Tom?
Whoever comes to Dirty Boxing.
So you're saying if Tom went to Dirty Boxing, you'd fight him?
Yes.
Not bad.
Yeah. You got your quote right there.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, other fighters are beginning to weigh in, and not everyone is being polite. Alexander Volkanovski, a well-respected UFC champion, gave his opinion on the situation without sugarcoating his word. He stated that if someone is the champion, they need to defend their title. It's part of the job. According to Volkanovski, a champion should stay active and fight whoever is next in line, especially when there's an interim champion already waiting. He acknowledged that Jones has an incredible track record and is is widely considered the greatest of all time, but he argued that the past doesn't excuse the present. If Jones is done fighting, he should just say so and retire. But if he's still calling himself the champ, then the belt needs to be defended.
I've always been, if you're the champion, defend your belt. It's a responsibility. You can't just, I'm going to sit out. I think you need to be reasonably active. I think you need to fight whoever's there. If you've got an interim champ, it's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? So I don't want to throw heaps of shade, but I mean, look, I know he's proved himself. Everyone's like, oh, look what he's done. It's fine. It's like, yeah, no, not really. Don't hold up divisions just because. I know your resume is incredible. What you've done is incredible. You're considered the greatest of all time. We get that. So if you don't want to fight, just retire. You're done. Or if you want big fights, you're going to have to vacate the title. Like it's a responsibility. That's how I've always looked at being the champ. It's a responsibility.
Curtis Blaydes, another top contender in the heavyweight division, has a more respectful view. He acknowledges Jones's accomplishments and doesn't believe he's afraid of Aspinall.
I'm not going to be disrespectful and say he's scared. He can't be scared. I have no idea.
However, Blaydes doesn't shy away from pointing out the truth either. He sees the decision more as a calculated move, one based on risk versus reward. In his opinion, Jones has yet to beat a prime heavyweight. He explained that Cyril Gane, whom Jones beat, had noticeable flaws in grappling, and Stipe Miocic, though a great, was older and rusty when Jones fought him. There were moments in that fight, Blaydes observed, where a younger Miocic might have capitalized on opportunities and perhaps changed the outcome.
He's wrong, but you're right. He probably does think that, but if he were honest with himself, like, he hasn't beaten a real heavyweight, like a real prime heavyweight. You beat who he's got obvious holes in the grappling, and then you beat a old Stipe who was rusty and who did have you. He had you, like, there were moments in that fight where Stipe, a younger Stipe, maybe takes advantage of those times he had him.
Blaydes added that a win over Aspinall would be the ultimate stamp on Jones's heavyweight legacy. It would silence doubters and confirm him as the true greatest of all time in the division. On the flip side, even if Jones were to lose, it wouldn't damage his reputation. Fans would likely understand the loss, considering his age and the fact that he isn't a natural heavyweight. For Blaydes, there's nothing wrong with that. The real issue is Jones refusing to step into the octagon to settle the question.
I think if John were to beat Tom, we would all be like, okay, he legitimately is the GOAT. He legitimately won the heavyweight title. It would just, I think it would help him. I think it would help him more than, even if he lost. Because, bro, we get it. You're old. You're not a real heavyweight. We get it. You can lose. It's okay.
Adding even more fuel to the fire, former interim welterweight champ Colby Covington has also joined the conversation. Known for his controversial takes, Covington didn't hold back during a recent interview on Red Hawk Recap. He claimed that Jones is purposely avoiding the fight by demanding an unrealistic payday. According to Covington, Jones is asking for between $40 million to $50 million, a number he believes is way out of proportion for someone who doesn't bring in that level of revenue. Covington went further, saying he thinks Jones would rather retire than face Aspinall. He believes this is a strategy to duck the fight without making it obvious, price himself out of negotiations, and then walk away.
Yeah, I don't think John is fighting him. I think he's going to duck him and go into retirement.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
I wonder if Big Hunter and them are trying to make it happen. I believe they might be.
They're definitely trying to make it happen, but you heard that interview with Aspinall yesterday. He's like, dude, I'm done talking about John. They're not getting this fight done until it's signed. I just don't want to talk about it anymore. So you can see the frustration from Aspinall's side. John's ducking. He's trying to ask for an unreasonable price, man. You can't be asking for $40-50 million. You don't draw money to the company like that. So, I think that he's going to end up retiring before he fights Aspinall.
Aspinall, for his part, seems unfazed by the situation. In a casual conversation with Patty Pimblett on YouTube, he touched on how Jones might be nearing the end of his fighting career. Aspinall suggested Jones is living it up in Thailand and enjoying life. He believes that, like anyone else, Jones has simply reached his time limit. Although it was frustrating to sit around and wait for clarity about the fight, Aspinall has accepted it and is focused on what comes next.
That old one, living his best life, mate, isn't he, in Thailand? So everybody reaches a sell-by date, don't they? Everybody's got a time limit. He's reached it. and we move on. I reckon anyone else in that position would have been stripped. I was talking to Adam Cattell about it the other week.
Yeah, seen it.
He should be stripped now.
It obviously was a bit annoying at the time, but it's all in the past now. We're moving forward. Everything's good. We can get fighting again, and I just want to get fighting.
He emphasized that he's eager to return to action. The long stretch of inactivity, nearly a year of waiting, was difficult. Not because of money or fame, but because he genuinely loves fighting. Aspinall shared how being in the gym every day without a fight on the horizon was disheartening. All he wants is to compete again, to test himself, and to keep improving. Fortunately, he now has more clarity and expects to fight again soon.
Yeah, it's not the best. You know what, it's better now, because I do know what's going on a little bit. And I am going to fight soon, so that's nice. But for like the last kind of 6 months, I've just not known what's going on. Do you know what the worst bit is? It's like, you know this yourself, it's like money, fame, titles, rankings, all that aside, I just love fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
I just like fighting people. That's what I got into it for. I didn't get into it for anything else. All the other stuff is just like nice to have on top. I want to be the best fighter I can be. I love it. I'm in the gym every day. I just want to fight. That's been taken away from me for like nearly a year now, and that's got nothing to do with me, which is, it's a bit frustrating to be honest, but we are nearly over it now, which is good.
Reacting to the situation, Michael Bisping shared his thoughts, stating that Jon Jones is holding up the division and has been inactive for a long time. So much so that Tom Aspinall has spent nearly 70% of Jones's reign as the interim champion. Bisping criticized Jones for posting about enjoying his life while seemingly forgetting the responsibility he has to his fans and the other fighters in the division.
He's holding up the division, okay? Tom Aspinall, the interim champion, has been the interim champ for 70% of Jon Jones's reign. They need to fight one another, and what the F is going on? Why isn't this fight scheduled? And now, of course, we've seen all this stuff coming out about Jon Jones. He's not sure, he's tweeting, he might be retired, he might not be retired, he's living his best life. I mean, that's all well and good. Of course he's living his best life. He's had a tremendously successful life. He's one of the greatest fighters the world's ever seen, okay? And with that, he's made a tremendous amount of money. Of course, you're living a good life, but as the heavyweight champion of the world, you have a debt, you have an obligation to the fighters, to the fans.
Furthermore, Michael went on to highlight how the situation is becoming increasingly absurd, with Jon Jones appearing to enjoy life, filming content with Nate Diaz, riding bikes, and even getting involved in scuffles, while the division remains in limbo. Bisping argued that Jones cannot truly maintain the legacy of being an undisputed champion as long as Tom Aspinall holds the interim title, urging Jones to reconsider his position and legacy in the sport.
He's not the undisputed champ because there's an interim champion. And I'm not saying this as someone trying to shit on Jon Jones. No, this is just the situation. Now, first of all, talking about living his best life. You've probably seen this right now. He's out in Thailand, he's driving around, he's on the back of someone's motorbike, he's having a good smell of somebody's hair, he's with some Russian dude because Jon Jones and Nate Diaz are filming some like Russian version of The Ultimate Fighter. Jake Shields was there. The guy that was riding the motorcycle comes in, kicks off to, he's still hammered from the night out. He doesn't look like he can fight his way out of a wet paper bag, but he's swinging punches and all this type of stuff. Nate Diaz gives him a slap. Jon Jones is laughing his head off. Gotta be careful out there, boys. Anytime you're dealing with a bunch of Chechens and a bunch of Russians, you gotta be careful.
Furthermore, Michael Bisping commented that Jon Jones's tweets have become increasingly ridiculous, describing them as cringeworthy content for the UFC audience. He questioned whether Jones even cares anymore, but urged him to do the right thing, either relinquish the belt or step into the octagon to face Tom Aspinall. Bisping called on Jones to stop posting on social media and start proving himself where it matters, in the cage.
Someone says you should be stripped. He says stripped? Low. Do I come across as the type of person who cares about things like that? Well, if you don't care, do the right thing. Relinquish the belt. Give it to Tom Aspinall. Let the division move on. And if you want to stroll back in and take the belt back, do it at your own time. Remember, he shared a video the other day. It's a meme that's going all over Instagram. It's a bunch of dogs all barking and being dickheads, and then some big like alpha dog walks in and sticks the other dog down. John's like, this is what it feels like walking back into the UFC. It's a bit cringe, it's a bit whatever, but it's like, bro, that's all well and good. Do your talking in the octagon.
Joining the debate, Joe Rogan also took a jab at Jon Jones, suggesting that his past use of steroids has diminished his performance and brought him down to the level of an average fighter. Rogan implied that without those enhancements, Jones may no longer hold the same edge he once had in the octagon.
Loved to have seen that back in the day. But if if again you let him fight enhanced, because the difference between him enhanced and unenhanced, he became an average fighter.
Yeah, but John was enhanced too, though. If they would have went against each other, both enhanced
at the time.
At the time.
So you think John was enhanced?
Yeah, I think it's proven.
Really, because of the whole thing with the picograms, whatever the fuck that shit is.
Well, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but I just thought he got popped, so I assumed that he was enhanced.
He did, but the problem that he got popped with, there were so minuscule levels that it didn't make sense.
Yeah, he don't look like somebody.
He does steroids.
Yeah,
no, he doesn't.
Oh, okay.
But neither did Lance Armstrong.
He probably did. He probably doing something different though.
Furthermore, Joe shared his thoughts on the recent viral clips of John Jones, suggesting they may be reactionary effects of past drug use. He called for action against Jones, implying that elevated testosterone levels could be influencing his erratic behavior during vacations, leading him to make questionable decisions and act out in public.
No, he was doing testosterone. I mean, he was definitely doing that too. Those guys were doing. He was doing a lot of shit. They do everything they can when they do that Tour de France. Doctors say that it's actually healthier to do that thing on steroids than it is to not be on steroids, because your body just can't recover.
Yeah.
Because you're biking for hours and hours and hours, day after day. It's a crazy event.
I think if you biking and doing shit like that, let them do steroids.
Right.
But fighting, I'm against that shit.
Right. It's different.
Yeah, football, boxing, MMA, shit like that.
But football, you know they're doing something.
Yeah, you know they're doing it. But
those guys are gigantic.
Yeah, but I think if you got full contact against another human, I think it should be outlawed. But baseball, I wouldn't give a fuck.
Mocking John Jones, Robert Whittaker also took a shot at his current situation, pointing out how Jones is constantly tweeting and posting on social media while holding up the division, all while claiming he's done. Whittaker asserted that it's not just Jones who's over it, but the entire MMA community is tired of waiting. He even went as far as to say that Jones is no longer worthy of holding the title.
Honestly, who cares now?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Like, I'm done. I'm done with waiting. It's like, yeah, it's like Elder Scrolls 6, dude. It's just like, you know what I mean? Just, you gotta have to play something else, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm done. And honestly, everyone nagging him and poking at him and trying to get clips and stuff is worse for me. Like, they're like, yeah, it's way worse for me. It's just, I'm done with that too. I'm just done. I
get it.
I don't know how Jones still holds the title, honestly.
Adding to his narrative, Robert pointed out how the situation has shifted dramatically over the past few months. While some people previously defended John Jones, now the majority are urging the UFC to strip him of his title. He emphasized that this fallout is entirely Jones's own doing, as he's mishandled the situation and damaged his reputation. Johnny Rosas also weighed in, noting that Jones's inactivity is putting Tom Aspinall's future at risk. He called it a disgrace that Aspinall still hasn't had the chance to fight for the undisputed title.
When we first started speaking about this many moons ago, how I was like, no one's stripping Jones, you can't do that to him. But mate, come on, you're taking the piss now. You're taking the piss now. I was like,
yeah.
But let just, I don't know, how long's it been since Tom's fought last?
Man, almost a year. Almost a year. It's actually insane.
Fighting.
It's not fair because it's not fair on him. You've already freaking defended an interim belt, right? It's not fair. Last time he fought was 27th of July of last year in 2024. Like, I get it from his perspective that he just wants to fight, but it's not fair if his next fight is not for the undisputed title, or at least if he's not made the champion and he's going in to defend it.
And there you have it, folks. The John Jones versus Tom Aspinall saga continues. Is John really dodging the Brit, or is this just classic fight game politics? Let us know what you think in the comments. Is Bones running, or just being strategic? Hit that like button, share this with your fight crew, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for all the latest on MMA. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay tuned.